Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, lovely. That's even better. That's
Okay.
even better. All right, Doc, we are going to go live now. We are 1 minute late already. Okay, yeah.
Okay, just a minute.
No, we're actually live now. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen who have joined us on this Dr. Fundi platform, joining us via multiple streams, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and also the Dr. Fundi website. My name is Dr. Fundi Lenyati. I am the host of this channel. Today, I have my second guest, being the month of August, that is actually, declared a Women's Month in South Africa. I have decided that for the duration of this month, all my guests are going to be women, women of substance, women who are movers and shakers, or women who are just doing interesting things that are worth, sharing with people out there. So yesterday I had Sbongile, Mangai, and we had a great time. Today, my second guest is Dr. Nandy Marfongos. I've just picked up that she's got a name. She's called the Iron Lady. She is actually a qualified pediatrician who obtained her undergraduate MPCHP degree from Walter Sisulu Faculty of Health Sciences, and went on to study pediatrics and obtained a fellowship, qualification. So she is a fellow of the College of Pediatricians of South Africa. So that makes her a fully fledged pediatrician. And there are some interesting things about her before I get to the sporting side of things, because that's another area of interest about her. At Walter Sisulu University, she's actually in charge of the pediatric ICU, all right? She also, she's got special interest on issues of intensive care and allergies. She also runs the high care at Nelson Mandela Academic Hospital, and is actually a lecturer for students from 4th year up to 6th year. And she actually even trains those guys who are now starting to become pediatricians, what we call registrars, and even medical officers, and supports other doctors in the district hospitals in and around, the Nelson Mandela Academic Hospital. So that's the academic professional side of Dr. Marfongos. But that's not the only reason why I actually asked her to join us today. The other thing that interests me about her is the fact that she is what I would call an endurance athlete, or an extreme athlete, or that is extreme sports. Maybe that's why she got that name of Iron Lady. And she's going to tell us more about how she got into that space. But Dr. Nandy Marfongos, welcome to Dr. Fundi channel. Doc? Dr. Marfongos?
Thank you.
Dr. Marfongos, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Please switch off your camera so that we can get a better stream, so we can hear your voice nicely.
Okay, is that better?
That's much, much better. At a certain point, I'll ask you to switch on your camera so that the viewers can be able to see you. But for now, let's get the voice, so that we are able to have our conversation. So welcome to the Dr. Fundi channel. Doc. Dr. Nandy Pa. You see now, Dr. Nandy Pa, your line is quite weak right now.
Oh, you still can't hear me?
Now I can hear you now, but you
Okay,
on
maybe
and
let
off.
me not move from where I am.
Yeah, just stay where you are and just talk to me. I'll be happy with that. All right.
Okay.
Who is Nandy Marfongos? And here I'm not talking about the professional. The young lady, Nandy Marfongos. Who is she? Where does she come from? What kind of family did she come from?
Okay. Thank you for the warm welcome, Dr. Nyati. Nandy Marfongos is a girl out of 3 children. I'm the only girl. I was born in Umtata in a village called Kwekwe location.
Mm.
I grew up there, classic African family with the extended family. We're
Yeah.
all in one household with the grandparents. So even though we're out of 3, we grew up like such a huge family with cousins and everyone else. So I was born in Umtata, did high school, junior, tertiary, born, bred and buttered in Umtata, literally.
You.
So that's basically me. I have 2 brothers. I have
Yeah.
1 daughter. She's 8 years old.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, as the only girl in that family of 3, I'm talking about the nuclear part now, the nuclear family, you must have been a bit spoiled, or your brothers very, protective over you.
Unfortunately, not. I was not spoiled at all. I'm the middle child, so I don't know if I say I'll have the middle child syndrome, but because I was the only girl, I always say at home we're all fortunate because one is a firstborn, the middle one is the only girl, and then there's the last born. So there's no competition. I wasn't spoiled at all. Grew up with a lot of boys around me. Yes, they were protective, but we were still expected to do the duties at home, whether a boy or a girl. We all had to cook and do any chores.
So it means your parents were quite advanced. I mean, that's what we're talking about now, gender neutral parenting, where there are no chores that are for girls and chores for for boys. Everyone must just do anything. So if you guys grew up like that, then already you should be able to do that easily with your 8-year-old daughter, huh?
Yes, definitely. Look, to some extent, some roles were still for the girls and some for the boys. But because the ratio of boys were more than the girls, the boys sort of had to come to the party and to learn to cook and clean and do all of those things because I was the only girl and the rest were boys. So I couldn't do all of those alone. But yes, in our house, there was no such. Everyone had to learn.
What kind of a young girl was Nandy growing up before you got to high school and tertiary? How would people describe you? Would they say you were more of a tomboy or you were too much of a girl? You know?
Okay, so growing up, no, I was not a tomboy, despite the fact that I was surrounded by a lot of boys. Um, I was quite inquisitive, people say, and my grandmother used to complain because when I traveled with her, I followed her everywhere. My grandmother, she's one of my inspirations.
Yeah.
I used to ask a lot of questions, and her friends would complain because now I'm interfering with their conversations, and I keep asking, and I remember all the details, and I report everything. And I really thought growing up I was going to be a lawyer, but I changed my mind in high school because everyone thought I would engage in a lot of arguments and win most of the arguments. But I changed my mind, unfortunately, in high school. Instead, I didn't become a lawyer. Yeah, so that was me growing up.
Yeah.
I asked, yes, it's Lalini proper. Lali. We used to walk to school, which was about 1.5 kilometers away. Even the high school was about 2 kilometers away. But yes, because Lalini, we used to fetch water from the river.
Yeah. Did you manage that skill of putting the emere, on your head and walk without any, support?
I must say I failed dismally on that department. So this is me. I was very much of a scientist at a very young age. I figured, why learn all of this skill of putting this bucket on your head when it's only 7 liters or 10 liters maximum? Well, you could carry a wheelbarrow,
Yeah.
that carries 25 liters. So I
Yeah.
figured, no. I'm gonna carry 25 liters so that I have less trips to the river and I
Yeah.
bring more water. Plus my neck is not gonna be sore from all
Yeah.
that learning balance.
Yeah.
So I never went that route. So I used to drive the wheelbarrow with the boys.
Mm, mm. So other things that people do as lalini, like ukutyabeka and on the floor,
Ukusinda.
you do those things, using cow dung to try and sort out the
Mm.
floor of a rondavel.
So when I grew up at home, in the early 90s, already at home they had put cement on the floor. So I missed out on ukutyabeka nokusinda. But fortunately, on my father's grandmother's side in Solo, when I used to visit, I was
Yeah.
so fascinated. So I had learned ukusinda there when I had visited briefly. But at
Yeah.
home, we also didn't have livestock. The only stuff we did a lot was gardening. So we
Yeah.
used to have crops, lilies, and all of those. So we used to do those a lot. And
Okay.
obviously the usual girl
Yeah.
duties.
Yeah. Okay, Doc, let's move on now. You went to high school. Which high school did you go to?
So I went to two high schools. Initially enrolled at Holy Cross High School in
Okay,
town
I
when
can
it
see
used to
Holy
be in
Cross
Craister
somehow.
Street in Umtata. But
The
because of
because
financial,
there were nuns who were running that school, eh? Holy Cross.
no,
What?
nuns were running Zingisa High School.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Mm.
So you went to Holy Cross? Yeah.
So I only did, yes, so I did grade 8, is it grade 10? I think we were doing standard
That's
8. So I did
that.
grade 10 there,
Yeah.
but I had to change schools because we could not afford the school fees. My mother was not working at that point in time.
Yeah.
So I went to Zamukulungisa High School, which is the high school in my village. And I look back and I still think it was one of the best decisions we ever made, even though I
Why?
did not understand it at that time. I'll tell you why. Yes, we changed because of financial problems,
Yeah.
but I did so badly in grade 10. And
Mm.
not because I don't have the brains, but because you're a young child, you have friends, you're going to this school in town, you're trying to fit in so much, and you end up sometimes not focusing a lot on your studies.
Yeah.
I did so badly in mathematics. I think I had gotten an F.
You.
And maths was one of my best subjects. And I got to Zamgulungisa. I met one of the best teachers in mathematics. And I ended up with 98% in maths
Madrid.
in metric. So I turned things around despite all of that. So hence I'm saying, despite I could not see at that point in time the reason for me to change,
Mm.
it became one of my best. And I met one of my mentors was a biology teacher who influenced me to do medicine.
Yeah.
And I had the most amazing time in that school in Zamukulungisa
Mm.
High
So
School.
at what point then did you decide, I am not going to pursue law. I'm actually going to do medicine.
So this started in metric. Okay, I first changed my mind in high school that I want to do law. I think I'm more interested in biology and related subjects. So I
Yeah.
said in standard 9 or grade 11, I think I'll do either analytical chemistry or biomedical technology or BSc and do biology. And my biology teacher said, why are you not considering medicine in your list? Why are we only talking about things that you'll do at technical and not university? And
Yeah.
then I thought, I don't know if I'll get enough good grades for that. And he
Yeah.
sat me down and he said, Nandipa, you're clever, you are smart enough, you can work for this, you are still in March, you have a chance for trials in metric,
Yeah.
and you can get the results. And he told me his dream that he wanted to be a doctor, but he couldn't to
Yeah.
support the rest of the siblings, so he had to come out early from BSc and not continue. And that stuck with me. So I worked so hard for my trials that I got good marks, A's. So the goal was to get A's in maths, and that's what happened. And I changed my mind. And I still think teachers are mothers of all professions because he influenced my decision. I did not necessarily believe I could. and he
Yeah.
planted that seed.
Yeah, well, other people would say it's some form of vicarious living through you. She had a dream, she could not fulfill it, and the best thing that she could do was to then make sure that that dream is lived by and is achieved by somebody else, that she influenced. And I'm sure when you became a doctor, in a way, she also felt that she made a contribution to your choice.
Yes, it's actually a he. It's Mr.
Oh, okay.
Aweti. And I went back to actually thank him. And we had conversations. I was invited to the schools during prize giving ceremonies and
Mm.
told him this story because he obviously didn't know. So I told him years down the line.
Mm. Okay.
Yes.
All right, Doc. Anyway, so you then got very good grades and you applied to do medicine at WSU. Is that the only university that you applied to, or you applied to many, but then you made a choice? I'm going to do WSU, Walter Sisulu
I
University.
applied to WSU and KZN,
Yeah.
but my mom said no, she wants me to stay in Umtata and do medicine there because she thinks it's the best medical university. I was
Yeah.
like, okay. And I also don't think I was ready as a 16-year-old to really leave home. I matriculated when I was 16, so I was actually one of the youngest in my class. So
Yeah.
for me, being close to home was then even a better option. I used to go home on weekends to just
Yeah.
go and eat nicely
Yeah.
cooked food. So I actually enjoyed the whole process of being close to home. But I was
Yeah.
still living in Cambridge University.
Yeah. Well, after that near disaster of going to Holy Cross and you getting confused there, I would have supported your mom's decision as well to encourage you to stay in Umtata and not go to these big cities, you know. Also, because you were just 16 at the time. And so you started doing medicine at WSU. Um, any highlights from the 6 years that you spent at WSU?
Yes, so first year was rough. You're 16, you're at university, you have all this freedom. I was very fortunate because I just was lucky to click into a certain group of friends who had the same vision. One of my first friends I made in university was Bongeka. She naturally babysat me, literally. I was
Eh,
like, how do you even study for a test? I had no concept of university, which is my biggest problem with high school. I don't know if it prepares you enough that university you have to do everything on your own. She took
yeah,
me under her wing. She would literally drag me to her room. We studied together. Later on, other groups of friends joined in. We call each other BFFs. We're about
yeah.
a group of ladies. And we've been inseparable since then, since 20 years ago.
Mm,
So the highlight was that I met in my journey very um, like-minded people who had a vision, which our focus was, guys, failing is not even an option. We don't
yeah.
even want to have a supplementary. And I
Mm,
mean, I remember one year, I think we were in third year, there was
mm,
Miss Unitra. It's quite a
eh,
big party. And we had
mm,
exams on the Monday. Now we could not go. And the noise and the music and the DJs were so loud. The only moment we could hear the music was when we went to the dining hall to fetch the food, because priorities you have to separate.
So,
So we had to give up a lot of things during those days. Being
mm,
with the certain friends made it easier to make those decisions.
mm.
Um, so it hence I'm saying I was very fortunate. Hence we're still friends up to this day, and we call each other best friends for life. And it's been 20
Ngubani,
years.
ngubani le colleague?
Oh, the first very friend I met is Bongeka Mapasa.
Yeah.
She's Dr. Mapasa. She works at Alwal North now currently.
Oh, lovely, lovely. And you guys are still in touch.
Yeah, and the rest of the other six ladies later joined us. Well, the other one would literally follow us everywhere. So we're like, hey, we're stuck with her. Let's just start liking her. And we became friends like that. So it was quite nice. It was a safe environment.
Yeah,
Medicine was tricky, learning to see cadavers. It
yeah.
felt like, "Eish, I'm 17 and I'm 18. How are we supposed to
And
get
now you
exams
have to be
because of
cutting dead bodies, that you cut the whole year.
it was such a shock for me. I could not eat meat for 2 weeks.
Eh,
That first time, I could not eat meat and I love meat. Those who know me will tell you I'm a meat lover. But I was so traumatized. But obviously, you get over it eventually. Now I don't even think about it anymore.
So you don't, because in those early days, even during the break, you take long to wash your nails and wash your hands and make sure that everything is clean before you touch food. But towards the end of the year, you don't spend as much time, in between your time at the dissecting hall.
Yeah, you don't even think about it. You could even eat there for crying out loud because it is become now customary, just part
Yeah.
of the culture.
All right. And so, but Doc, I'm going to ask you another tricky one. You're coming from Kwekwe and now you are at varsity and you are now an adolescent, a young adult, and then there's boys who come and, profess their love and all of that, which sometimes can derail you from what you are there for. How did you deal with those?
Yeah, hey, tertiary life. Yeah. So because I had this strict friend, I'm gonna call it, she was quite strict. As much as there were boys who want to derail you, because we were so focused, you have to account where you were. So our rooms were we stayed at the same residence in Atlanta in our first year. And subsequently, when we moved to another second up to the final year, we all stayed even at our rooms were neighbors. So you could not make up stories to go to boys. If you were to, you had to account, and there had to be time frames to put for the timetable. But I must say, tertiary is such a dangerous environment from that perspective that you need to exercise self-control. It must come from you. And I had to remember where I come from and my home circumstances. I mean, in first year, I could not even have money to enroll. The money must come for registration and residence, dololo. So we had to make means, and obviously, eventually, I got the NFSS, but you had to be in the system first before you get NFSS. Kids today are fortunate; you can apply for NFSS in advance. With us, NFSS would only come at the end of the year, but you had to get money to at least be enrolled. And then the following year, I was fortunate. I eventually got a bursary because I had passed, and it became better after that. But I had to remember that if I fail, the bursary might be taken away. So that kept
There's
me
that
through
saying.
and kept me grounded and to focus on what I really wanted.
Yeah. There's that saying, when we grow up emakhaya, kuthiwe yazi imeko yakokwenu, know your family circumstances so that you don't sit there and compare yourself with the other kids, who, if things don't go well, they'll still be supported. So knowing where you come from, clearly, helped you to be focused because failure was not an option, like you said.
Yes, and I just could not disappoint my mother because I knew she is trying hard. Even subsequent years, she started working and she had a job. She bought me my first phone. You know, the small things. You remember the fridge? Having a fridge at varsity was a huge thing if you had a fridge in your room. A microwave. And I knew this person, she's using her last money to get me all these things. The least I could do for her was to do well at school and pass. It was that simple for me.
So you passed, Doc, and is there anything, any awards that you got, in final year as a result of your good academic performance?
Okay, so past, I must first tell you something about medicine, which we used to joke about. We used to say if you get it 50%, that's a distinction because that's how hard we felt medicine was. No, unfortunately, the only distinction I had was in obstetrics and in psychiatry. And I always laugh and look back that now, when I did internship, I did not even like psychiatry and obstetrics, yet they're the ones I got distinctions in. I did so badly in pediatrics, but still ended up being a pediatrician.
Yeah, and now you went and chose pediatrics to specialize in. I mean, how well did you do in pediatrics when you were, doing your 6th year?
I didn't do well. I got average marks. I don't know, maybe 55 or 60. I don't even remember. I did not even like pediatrics. These kids were so small. You must look for the drip. They are crying. You can't even hear when you listen to their chest. It was just frustrating. But I fell in love then with pediatrics during internship.
Yeah. And where did you do your internship?
So, my mom told me, you cannot stay in Umtata to do internship. You need to go out there, see the world, get views, opinions, learn other places. So me and my friends, we chose Peter Maritzburg.
Yeah.
And we were all lucky we got the post.
Which is a sleepy town. So
through the 3 hospitals, Eden, Northdale, and
Hey, Doc, no, can you repeat that?
So I'm saying we chose Maritzburg, and we rotated through the hospitals, Northdale, Edendale, and Grey Hospital.
Yeah. Okay. And how was that experience?
It was amazing because I think we came as a large group, so we had a lot of support amongst each other, even though we were not in the same department at the same time. We would come back home, tell each other the struggles, and I met some friends as well during internship that we are even still friends with. I absolutely loved Maritzburg. For me, the experience was beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's where I fell in love with pediatrics.
Yeah. Okay. So that's when you fell in love with pediatrics and decided, I am definitely going to study further to become a pediatrician. So where did you do your training as a registrar?
Okay, so registrar, because I was a bursary holder, I had to go back to
Excuse me, Doc. Excuse me, Doc. Can you just sit still? Somehow your line is getting bad. As you are talking, just sit still and just project your voice nicely. Yeah, thank you. Right, you can go ahead, Doc.
Okay. So because I was a bursary holder, one of the terms when you
I'm losing you there. Doc? Dr. Nandy, somehow your line is getting bad again. We couldn't hear what you were saying.
Okay.
Because of bursary something.
All right. I was a bursary holder. I had to go to the Eastern Cape to serve for the number of years that I received the bursary.
Yeah.
So I had to do community service.
Yeah.
I phoned Prof. Gary, who was the one of the consultants in Umtata. I told him, Prof. Gary, I want to be a pediatrician. Please get me a post. That's all. I just put it blindly like that. Yeah. And he said, no, send me your stuff. We'll accept you. So I did 1 year of being a medical officer in Umtata. Moved to Queenstown for a few months, and then I passed my exams, which is the part 1. And then Prof. Pepeta gave me a call, and he was like, what are you doing in Queenstown? You passed your primaries, you need to move. So I relocated to Port Elizabeth to start my registrar training.
Yeah. And so he became your mentor of some kind in PE. Prof. Pepeta, Lungile Pepeta.
Yes, when I met him, he became my mentor, he became a friend, and now I call him, he's my colleague. And he was one of the most influential people as well in me becoming a pediatrician and inspiring a Black child from Transkei to become a pediatrician. And he was very supportive. He would defend us, even for small things at work, because there's a lot of dynamics at work, especially sometimes even with racial issues. and you would know he's going to support you. And so he influenced me also in also how I see pediatrics and some of the things and principles that I use. He was our head of department there.
Yeah.
And so I ended up staying in Port Elizabeth for 7 years, beyond even after qualifying, even though I thought I would go back. I actually forgot. It became so wonderful in Port Elizabeth.
So which hospital was this? Was it Livingston or Toranginza, or which hospitals were you working in?
Okay, so in Port Elizabeth, pediatrics is in Toranginza Hospital, which is a regional hospital.
Yeah.
However, maternity and pediatrics is a tertiary hospital, so we do everything in Tora. So it's, but you still have to do a year in city as well, do the subspecialties. So I went and did that on the last side.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. So, you know, at some point, we actually got to talk about you, me and Prof. Pepeta, and he actually said, amongst the people that you know, trained and worked under him, you the best, you know, consultant that came, you know, under his, you know, I'll say mentorship or coaching or whatever you call it. I'm not sure if he's ever told you that, but he rates you very, very, very highly.
I have heard it from a couple of people, not from him personally, but I must say I do know he was proud of me because of the actions and how we would interact and how he would be so strict with me. When we were doing research, I'm like, this guy wants me dead. He would be like, Marfongos, you are doing this. It is not compulsory, but I want you to do it. I don't just want to get a qualified specialist, but I want a qualified specialist with quality training. Not anyone can pass an exam, but it's the quality behind the specialist that also matters. So he was actually very strict with me, I must say, because he also wanted the best out of me as well.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's what they call tough love, right? You know, he had your best interest at heart and made sure that he pushes you so that you can actually deliver your best as well. You know.
Yeah.
And so when
you still friends,
Doc.
I'm saying yes, I agree with you, and I mean we're still friends even up to now. Even when he left and went to the university at Nelson Mandela University.
Yeah. And so when you then said, all right, now I am leaving PE, I'm going to go to be based in Umtata. What was the reason for you to move, by the way?
Okay, so this was my plan that I'm going to qualify in Port Elizabeth. I'm going to go back home and serve my community because I know there's a need. But because life happens and you start forgetting. So after qualifying, I got into these crazy sports, triathlons, comrades, and all of those. And then I sort of forgot my original reasons why I would go. And 3 years down the line, it dawned on me that you made a promise to yourself that after qualifying, you're going to go back home and serve the community. So that stuck with me in 2017. And then eventually I moved in July back home because I felt the need to do that. And it's a promise I'd made myself way earlier when I was still a registrar.
Yes. So now you've been in Umtata for what, 3 years?
Yes, it was actually my anniversary yesterday, 3-year anniversary. Facebook reminded me.
Yeah. And how has the 3 years been?
Oh, it's been quite interesting because remember, if you're from a bigger city and then you're moving back to Umtata, you're gonna need to adjust on a lot of things: workplace, social life, activities. Even my daughter had to adapt, I must say. She did not understand why there is no ballet in Umtata. I had to explain this. And why is there no chess? She wanted to play chess and she wanted to continue. And I'm like, there's no chess in Umtata. You can't play that. And she had to adapt as well. So, but I mean, she's been fine and been happy. Children are beautiful like that. They move on quite easily, more than we think.
Yeah. So, but let's go back to PE. Let's go back to PE because this is where now I want us to talk more about this other side of you, which is the sporty side of you. All right. You got your daughter in 2012, right?
2011, November.
2011. All right, in 2011. And like all people, you know, when you're pregnant, you gain weight, and some people shed that weight easily after delivery. Some people struggle with shedding the weight. So what was the situation with you?
Yeah, I belong to the unfortunate ones because I had gained weight after delivery. I remember there was a comment from someone who thought I was pregnant even when I was carrying my daughter. I think in a picture, she thought I was pregnant again because the tummy was quite big. So because of that, I took a decision to become fit, become healthy, shed the baby fat as well, and just go back to my baseline weight again. So that's how then I started running.
Yeah. So, right, you know, in preparing for this interview, whilst I was waiting for you to give me information, Google helped me because you put a lot of information on something called the Indie Run Revolution. You shared a lot of information there that actually helped me a lot in case you were not going to give me what I was looking for. And so, yeah, you start by saying you started running after you had delivered, you had given birth to your baby as a way of trying to reduce weight. You started with a 5 kilometer fun run or whatever. Yeah, just tell us a little bit, you know, how you got into that.
Okay, sure. So a few months after I started running around in 2012 already, even though I'd given birth to her in 2011, because I think we also need to send an important message that before you start running after delivery, you need to wait and recover, and you must check with your doctor if it's okay to start running, because you can get complications if you run too early. So I started running around 3.5 months after the delivery, registered for a local fund race, 5 kilometers, and I really thought I was going to die at the finish line. That's how hard it was. But getting the medal at the finish was one of the most amazing things. And you would swear I had won Olympics and I had only ran a 5 kilometer.
What was the problem? You know, what was the problem? What made you feel like you were about to die?
I could not carry my heavy body. Everything was just heavy. My chest, remember, I had not exercised for years. I think the last time I had exercised was during internship here in Maritzburg. We ran the Spa Fun Ladies Race. But besides that, I was not active at all, even before I actually conceived, which is another thing we need to change as women. You need to be active even pre-conception as well.
Yes. You know, the gynaes talk about pre-conceptual counseling, preparing that body, making it ideal so that by the time you fall pregnant, you know, it's actually healthy in more ways than one. Yeah.
Yes. So forward down the line, I mean, we ran these 5Ks and it started increasing. You know, it hooks you. I did not know I would get hooked because eventually, months down the line, I reached my goal weight, which was the reason why I started running. But with running and crazy runners, they convince you to do the next challenge. If now you can run 5 kilometers comfortably, why don't you register for a 10K? And it just got worse and worse. And I met people along the journey who would encourage me. I mean, my first 10 kilometers, lady from PE, Unyameka, she ran with me the entire way. She said, I'll do it with you if you sign up. And literally, she was holding my hand that entire 10 kilometers. So it was a journey like that, made new friends through the running community, met up with Vukani Multi-Sport Club, which is one of the best decisions that also happened in Port Elizabeth. Yes.
Yeah. So, Doc, looking at that profile that you put there on that website, you've done more than 40 marathons. Like, is that true? And now this is this information, you put it on the 5th of March this year. So you said you've done more than 40. I guess it hasn't increased much because of COVID. So
I'm sure we would be sitting maybe at 45 now or so, but
yeah.
COVID happened, we understand. So everything else has to get. But yes, I've done over 40 marathons ever since I started running in 2013. I did my first marathon in 2013 in Cape Town. And since
Yeah.
then, I've never looked back.
Yeah. And you've done how many comrades?
I've done 6 comrades. So sorry, I've done 5 comrades and 6 2 oceans. I always confuse them.
5 comrades and 6. Like, I mean, for a couch potato like me, just the thought of somebody running 90 kilometers non-stop for 6 hours if you are good, or for 12 hours if you are, I mean, just tell me what keeps you motivated, during that long period of running, for you to be able to get to the finish line.
So this is what I always say about running. When it hooks you and you get addicted to it, one thing you discover is that it goes beyond the fact that you wanted to lose weight, hence you continue even after reaching your goal weight. It is cheaper than therapy. It is a place. So I always say people are addicted to different things.
Yeah.
And I personally choose to be addicted to things that are healthy or more constructive and building than destructive. So if you're going to run for 12 hours, you need to be a very patient person.
Yeah.
The meetings that you're going to have with yourself, the conversations. And I always say, if you can run a marathon, you will talk to God. If you can run an ultra, you will talk to God numerous times. The meetings you're going to have about yourself, it removes a lot of self-doubt, conversations that are true to yourself. It changes the person that you are on how you also view life in general and how you view challenges and how to overcome challenges. Because if you're in pain for 9-11 hours, you need to find ways to overcome that pain.
Yeah. Let's just go back for the benefit of those people who don't know the difference between a half marathon, a marathon, an ultra marathon. Just tell us, what's the difference between these things?
Sure. Okay. So a half marathon is 21 kilometers. A marathon is 42.2 kilometers. An ultra marathon is a marathon that is beyond 42 kilometers. It can be 45, it can be 70, it can be 90, it can be 161. As long as it's beyond the marathon mark, we call it an ultra marathon.
All right. So a comrades then would be classified an ultra marathon.
Yes. When we joke, we even say it's 2 marathons and a 5K fun run. Then that's how you get.
Yes. All right. And so, Doc, just help me understand here. So you guys normally participate in some marathons so that you can qualify for 2 Ocean or qualify for comrades. Just tell me a little bit about that, because there's so much work apparently that you guys need to put on, so that you are able to get to those high-profile races.
Yes. So the marathon organizers, if you're going to run anything beyond an ultra, beyond a marathon, we call it an ultra, they want to make sure that anyone who lines up at the start line is well prepared. Yeah. So they set up a criteria that for you to run any ultra marathon, you need to at least qualify for it and show us that you are able to finish within a cut-off time and in good health, because they don't want us to risk our health as well. So comrades and Christians, there's a qualifying criteria where you must run a marathon in under 5 hours, which is 42 kilometers. Comrades has slightly revised that criteria and moved to 4 hour 50, but generally as a rule, you must run a marathon in under 5 hours to qualify to get to the start line for those races.
So 2 Oceans is what then? Is it 42.2?
No, it's 56. So it's also an ultra marathon. Hence, we needed to qualify for it as well.
Okay. All right. So you say
comrades, we call it the ultimate human race.
Which one? The comrades.
marathon, yes.
Yeah, all right. Now, so how long does it take you to prepare to run those kind of marathons? I'm talking about now the marathons or even ultra marathons. You know, I'm here focusing on the Two Ocean and the Comrades. You know, how long does it take for you to say, okay, I am now well prepared for this kind of race?
Sure. Can I just illustrate a short story?
Yeah,
So I was watching Comrades Marathon in 2013 while I was doing my registrarship and studying, and I
yeah,
saw people running, and the commentators, including Bruce Waters, they said, anyone can do Comrades. You don't need to be an athletic and a professional. You can take a decision from your couch that you can run. You just need to run at least about 1,000 kilometers from January to June. You need about 9 months of preparation if you're on the couch. And I was listening to them. I thought, if these ordinary ladies and these ordinary men can do it, why not? Then that's how then I made a bet, crying and sobbing in front of the TV, watching them crawling to the stadium, that I am
yeah,
taking part. So you need about 9 months if you're from the couch. You may need 6 months if you're already an active person to
yeah,
prepare. So it's average of 6 to 9 months.
yeah. So in PE, you then joined a Vukani multi-sports, what do you call it now? VMSC, something?
Multi Sports Club, the MSC.
Yeah. It seems to be a very strong, athletics club. Is it just about running or other forms of sports?
Yeah, it's a multi-sport club.
Multi-sports.
So
Okay.
meaning, yeah, we do all.
You
So
know, the
I got
yeah,
introduced to them by a friend when I moved back from Cape Town. I was introduced to them that we've got this club that is started by Black guys. They want to support disadvantaged individuals to get into triathlon, but they also do running. So I thought,
yeah,
I think I like their vision and mission. It speaks very closely to me. So I said, I'll join them. And we've been
mm,
friends since then, beyond the sport. So we do running, we do cycle tours, and we do triathlons. So it's a multi-sport club that does all four, and it's based in Port Elizabeth, and it was formed in 2013
yeah.
by
Is that where
three.
you met with Bob? My
Yes,
colleague.
that's where I met Andile. Oh, and friendships have been made since then. We met at Vukani Multisport, and
Yeah.
now they call us the Bays of Vukani because we've been inseparable since then.
Yes. Well, in your last, I'm not sure if it's the last comrades that you guys ran together. It was an up run.
Yeah.
You guys got there 30 seconds before they closed the time, 30, I think, yeah, it was 30 seconds. And you were pulling him because for him, that was going to be the first finish. Just tell me about that.
Yeah, when I look back to all my comrades races, last year was the most special. Not because of me, but because Andile got to finish comrades after attempting, it was his fourth
Because,
attempt.
yeah,
And remember, this is someone I've been friends with, who I've been training with, but he wouldn't finish. And it's sad to celebrate your medal when your friend hasn't finished.
yeah,
So last year, for the first time, we usually fight when we run.
yeah,
For the first time in 5 years, we did not fight on that road from
yeah,
Durban to Pietermaritzburg. I
yeah,
was like, I'm so proud of you, my friend. For the first time, you're actually listening. You're not arguing. We
yeah,
always even argue with the water points. What must we drink and what must we eat at a water point?
yeah,
And we would even phone his wife and say, no, we're still okay. Don't worry. Where are you now? Because they were tracking us. Everyone was worried, even our friends. They were tracking. They could see we traveling together. We got to the 60K mark. We gave each other a hug. I'm like, my friend, it's the first time we've run this long together to get to the 60K mark. And we got
yeah,
to 80, 70. We knew time was not on our side. So when we got
yeah,
on top of Polish Short, which is 8Ks from the finish line,
yeah,
we had to run around 7 minutes per K or under. And I knew we had to run for our lives. So I
mm,
looked at him. I'm like, Andile, this is where I need you to run for me. And we ran, and I had a hip pain, and I couldn't really tell him because I didn't want him demotivated, because now he's relying so much on me to count the time, to know where the hills are, to know when to walk, when to drink, what to do. you know, the mathematics, they always say I'm the queen of mathematics, so they leave the maths and the splits to me, and then he just did the running. And our finish line picture is still the most special, even up to now.
Yes, I mean, we were sitting there glued on TV. I'm like, okay. And when I saw you guys, and I could see it was less than a minute to go, I was actually so excited for, especially for him, because on 1 year he finished, but it was beyond, you know, the cut-off time. The other year he got injured, 10 kilometers to go, and then all of that. So you then decided you're gonna sacrifice everything. You'll make sure that this friend of yours finishes, and indeed that's what happened.
Yeah, hence I still say it was the most special comrades for me. Even the app, when you looked, it predicted that we'll actually finish 12:05, and we got in there at 11:58. So when we had 500 meters, I told him, it's fine, relax, this is in the bag. Yeah. Let's just savor the moment, wipe your face, make sure you look good for the pictures. And that's what we did, because we knew we were on time. Because, you know, sometimes people are rushing in that last 300 meters and you can trip and fall. If you trip at comrades, you will not be able to get up because you're going to get cramps. And it was the most beautiful race last year. And it really talks about the spirits of comrades, that you run more than just yourself.
Yeah. So you definitely demonstrated comradeship there, you know, and you guys finished your race. But I just want to come back to you now, Doc. So really, you've talked about your addiction to the endorphins. You know, the whole concept of the runner's high. Can you just talk to us about that?
So this thing of runner's high, I also didn't understand it in the beginning. But I would notice that when you come back from a run, yes, you were tired during the run, you were cursing, you wanted to turn back. But when you come back, you've got this sudden surge of feel-good hormones and mood. You're just happy, you could be singing, and you make so I started up reading about running, and it talks about runner's high. When you've just exercised, your body releases endorphins, which are called happy hormones. Then it lifts your mood. So exercising is actually a mood lifter. It's an antidepressant and it's free, which is what I always say. And it doesn't have to be necessarily running only, any form of.
They say it's the most underutilized antidepressant.
I'm telling you, and it's cheap. And it comes with all the other health benefits as well.
Yeah. All right, Doc. So let me ask you other questions just relating to all of this now. So preparing for all of these races, it means you need to put in some kilometers on a daily basis, I'm assuming. But now, what happens in winter? Because in winter, it gets dark very quickly. And, so how do you manage this? And I'm asking also in relation to your work, because remember, you are working full-time, you're a pediatrician, you have to be in hospital. So how do you manage to juggle work and also put in the hours so that you are ready for your races?
I must say it is not easy, but I always tell people you first need to commit. Once you commit with your mind, the body will follow. So for me, the most difficult time was worse when I was still training, a registrar in training for pediatrics. You would work in a 28-hour shift and go home the following day. So one friend of mine tells me, no, you can run even if you're post-call. Post-call means knocking off after a 28-hour shift at midday. Because she says, if you don't run then and you go to sleep, you're not going to be able to wake up after a 28-hour shift. I said, hey, I'm going to try this thing. So you used to do that. You either run after that and you go and pass out, or you run at 5 in the morning. And we call ourselves Team 5 a.m.
Because for you to ask about the Team 5 a.m.,
So for you to put in the hours, you need to run at 5. And I figured 5 a.m. works for me because I'm a mom. So my daughter is sleeping. I'm not missing out in terms of her. And I'm back already at 6:30, and I drop her off at school at 7. Sometimes we do squeeze in afternoon sessions, depending on the time. In winter, it is a struggle because it's dark at 5 a.m. And as a female, it is also not safe.
I was about to ask you about that. You know, how safe is it for you guys as females, because we live in a country where, criminal acts against females, are very, very high.
It is a struggle, I must say, but I must say in the sport, a lot of men are actually supportive. So I actually have a lot of guy friends who I run with, because I can't be running alone at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. Dr. Tony is one of them. He knows I bully him to come and run with me at 5. And the other guys also from Kogolweni Athletic Club there in Untitled Chapter, because I can't run alone. So they come, they said, even if you're lazy, they come and park the car in my place. They're like, we'll fetch you, and we run. Also, same thing in PE. We used to run with a lot of guys, or Andile and other guys at Vukani. But you get this, it's a social community. We have WhatsApp groups for running. Even if someone visits PE, they say, Nandi, who can I run with? Then I'll contact someone in PE to say, can they please join you guys? So for safety, I always say, never run alone as a female in the dark or in quiet routes. Even a guy these days, because they can take your running shoes or cell phones. So either way. So what I do in winter, I try and not train in the morning. I'm not a winter person, so it's quite cold. So I prefer running in the afternoon. So a lot of training I do in the afternoon in winter. And what I've been doing, I incorporate and bring my daughter with, because I'm making a run now and cycle a bit, obviously small distances. That way we also get to spend time together, and we choose a route that has loops where even if she finishes, she's in front of me, I can just do a little bit more kilometers. But if I have to run in the morning or cycle in the morning, then I go with the group of guys.
All right. So, Doc, we've been talking about running only, but now let's go back. You talked about triathlon. Please tell us what's a triathlon.
So a triathlon is a race where you have to swim and then cycle and that run. You do them.
How many days of each?
So it's similar like to marathons and half marathons and ultras. They've got various distances. So you can do a sprint distance, you can do an Olympic distance, or a half Ironman distance, or a full Ironman distance. So it gets quite
Ironman. That's our next discussion, the Ironman thing. So an average triathlon will have swimming of how many Ks? An average one?
Average. Okay, let's start with the smallest one.
Give us an idea, we who don't understand.
Okay. So for an Olympic distance, you have to swim 1.5 kilometers, either in the ocean or in a lake or a dam. And then you must run out of the ocean, get off your wetsuit, dress up for your cycle, get out, cycle about 40 kilometers, get back to the transition, take off your cycling gear, get on your running gear and run 10 kilometers. So that's an Olympic distance triathlon.
Yeah.
Half Ironman is about double that, and then it goes up and up and up.
So an Ironman, how long are the the various parts of the triathlon with Ironman?
So with Ironman, it is the epitome of triathlons. It's sort of similar to Comrades in terms of running. So with Ironman, you have to swim 3.8 kilometers. And then cycle 180 kilometers, and then go on to run a full marathon, which is 42 kilometers. And you have to do all of these in under 17 hours.
What?
And you have to, so typically the race starts at 6 a.m. and people go home at 1 a.m. You must tell your friends and people who come to support that they're going to be going home at 1 a.m. the following morning.
Yo, all right. So how many of these Ironmans have you done?
I've done 2 of those, one in 2017 and one in 2019. Unfortunately, the race was cancelled this year, 2 weeks after, just before we went.
Yeah. So I know that one of those you actually went to, I think, the Emirates in Dubai or something like that to go and run one day. Why? Why did you go so far to go and run this very heavy thing?
we like pain, eh? We are suckers for pain. So what we do, because I love traveling, sport has allowed me the opportunity to do both at the same time, travel and also do the sport and go and see the world. So My first one I did was to Turkey in 2016, and it was my first time in Turkey, and it was beautiful. And then in 2019, we went to Dubai, and my friend was visiting, was doing his first international triathlon. So I said, no, let's go. And then in December, we did Bahrain, which is also in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And this year, obviously, plans changed. We were going to do Portugal, Australia, but then coronavirus happened. So I love that about sport because it allows you to travel, at least guilt-free. I can justify traveling in terms of doing both holidaying and also doing sport at the same time. And I've met, wonderful people even during those races that you continue friendships even when you come back.
Yeah. Now, a girl from Kwekwe, rural Umtata, where there was no pool nearby for you to learn how to swim. If anything, maybe there was a river for you to learn how to swim. And I'm sure you also didn't know how to cycle. Now, just tell me, running I can understand, but swimming and cycling for a young lady from Kwekwe.
Yeah, I must say, remember our household, the roles were gender neutral. However, some of the things, as a girl, you're still expected to stay inside the yard. You can't really be gallivanting and doing cycling with boys. It will get you into trouble. So I unfortunately never learned to cycle as a child. One, we didn't afford to buy bikes. And two, I wasn't allowed to go and play with the boys with the other bikes. There was a dam in my village. My brothers used to go and swim there, and they would get a hiding when they come back because
Yes,
children.
of
Yes, and they also used to drown and tease each other. So I also never used to go. I was quite a bit of a nerd as well and reserved. I would do a risk assessment and feel like, nah, I'm not going to do this. Why learn to ride if you're going to fall? Why go and swim if you may swallow this water? So growing up, I was never interested. But when I was in PE running at Vukani Multisport Club, because they do triathlons, I got introduced to those. And I discovered a friend of mine, Uvuyo, she learned to swim as a 34-year-old. I was like, is that even possible? And I was so proud of her when she did her first half Ironman, and she gave us the story that you can learn. And she inspired me. So I decided to take up the challenge. I think we sat with her for dinner. 3 days later, I signed up for my first swimming lesson. I must say it was not fun. That swimming teacher had to be a psychologist more than a swimming teacher because the fear was real. It took me 6 months to learn and be confident to swim.
A typical ducky, water and duckies don't normally meet,
Yeah, no, water is not our friend. I used to not understand, how am I going to float in this thing? And she used to demonstrate and show how the water loves you and it wants you to float. Eventually, we succeeded. We were a group, we registered as a group, and we used to tease each other as well, and we motivated each other. And 6 months down the line, we were all swimming. In terms of cycling, I learned also through Vukani. I did not, same person, Vuyo, she also could not cycle. And I was told she learned. I was like, yo, she did, okay. So they're like, no, we've got guys at Vugan who can teach you how to cycle. I must tell you, it was very funny. They used to hold the bike, put me on top, and then they have to push it. Yeah. And one of the guys who first taught me, he would go back home so tired from carrying me and pushing the bike. And I say he spoiled me. Because even when I could cycle now, I would want him to run next to me and I'm riding in case I fall. So he made me a spoiled brat because, who does that? And eventually I introduced to another guy, Tyler, who later learned to teach me further. And he was so strict. He's like, no, I'm not going to run next to you. You must go. And I was like, oh, this guy is strict. I don't like him. But they molded me to become the cyclist that I am today. And I'm still forever grateful. And they're still proud of me. When I participate in races, they call me, they message me, like, Nandy, you're doing so well. I can't believe 4 or 5 years ago, you could not even get on a bike. And it was all the influence from Vukani and just planting the seed.
And I remember, I think from time to time, you would share pictures of the lady who was teaching you how to swim. And you, in most of those pictures, you looked very, very scared.
Yeah, no, for me was the hardest. Cycling was a bit okay because when I do risk assessment, even if you fall, it's just on the ground. You have control. There is no death involved. I used to tell her, Georgie, if I drown, that is final. I will die. There is no coming back. And she used to laugh about it, that this is death. I told her, I'm a medic. I do risk assessment. Death is final with drowning. With cycling, you can fall, you get bruises, and you get up.
Yeah.
But it gets better. And she told us that if you want something, you need to pitch up, show up scared, show up crying, just show up. And I used to cry in the pool because she would make me do things and I felt so uncomfortable and scared. She's like, Nandy, you can't go that past point if you don't try.
Yeah.
And I think that helped me a lot in terms of the psychology of
Yeah.
then doing all of those challenges.
Yeah. So, Doc, right. So you mastered the triathlons as well. You could swim now, you could cycle now, and then you moved to Umtata. Do you still do that in Umtata as well?
Yeah. So I must say, during my farewell party in PE, my friends were
Doc?
so concerned. Now, guys, I don't know. I'll make a plan. So I got there. I discovered there's a lady who owns a bike. I contacted her. She cycles with another guy. So I asked to join them. They showed me the cycling route. Fast forward a few weeks down the later, I discovered my cousin who also owns a bike. And I just got introduced to more and more people who cycle. And now we're about 15 to 20 cyclists actually in Umtata. And we partake in various cycle tours around the country. We do Amashova, we do 94.7, we do Cape Agus. And I always say you find ways. If you're passionate about something, you're going to find a way. And I mean, we cycle on the N2. I don't think it's necessarily the safest option, but our options are limited. The roads are not good in the others. So N2 has a big enough shoulder. The taxi drivers even know us now, and the trucks, they greet us. So you work your way around anything if you wanted. Obviously, there's no ocean, so I couldn't do open water swims. So the only training I do for swimming is in a swimming pool. The only time I get to swim in the ocean is the day before race day. And I mean, you make ends meet. There's not much else we can do.
But you still finish and achieve your targets, obviously.
Yes. And swimming has allowed me to also explore my other passion I never realized I had, which is teaching people to swim as well.
Okay. All right. So, Doc, now we now know both sides of you, the academic pediatric, pediatrician side of you. We also know this very, very sporty side of you. Now, I want us to put together these two things. What have you learned from your involvement in these very challenging endurance sports, which is actually helping you in your day job or in your job as a pediatrician? So what lessons have you learned from one that are actually giving you an advantage on the other?
Yes, I get your question. So what I've realized that from sport, it helps me on the day-to-day running, that if you are able to finish a marathon and endure that pain in the journey, yes, it's not going to be easy. Don't get me wrong. I don't want people thinking you can just wake up and be a specialist or you can run a unit anywhere. It doesn't even have to do with medicine. Any job that there's difficulties. It also makes you build resilience, not just physical resilience, but mental resilience as well. You need to change your tire on your own. Same thing at work. There's a crisis, you must troubleshoot and try and find solutions. You must be solution finish. So that's how I juggle both. And as much as sport is tiring, it makes me fresh at work. Even though you run, you actually become more fresh and more engaged at work. If you don't run, I become very dull in the mood. and the working relations also get affected as well.
Yeah. And so, but I mean, with so many things that you are doing, there's a lot of planning that you need to do to make sure that you are able to achieve all of these things. There's a lot of time management, a lot of multitasking. Has that also helped you then in how you execute your job,
Yeah, I must
running
say,
your ICU
yeah,
and
with
all of that?
time management, you must plan. So I normally plan when the year starts, I look at the race calendar and I look at my work calendar. Because there's conferences to be attended, there's exams for students which you can't miss, and you have to sort of juggle all of those. So I plan my sport and holidays and work accordingly. So I have a year planner on my phone. I write, these are the races I'm going to do because they don't clash with anything at work. And if it's clashing, then I can't do these ones. Instead, I'll choose those. So it's a lot of juggling. My phone, I always say my phone is my diary. The info that's here, I even plan into detail which one will choose and when can I leave, when can I take leave, when is it important not to be away from work, and all of those. And my team sort of also understands. They always laugh. They're like, yo, we know you on Monday, you're gonna walk in crawling or shuffling, because I had been to a race. So the nurses used to joke, why after lockdown, this girl now is walking normally, because I normally limp for a few days, Monday and Tuesday, because we would have participated in a race. So they sort of also know as well and ask how it went, and they're sort of supportive.
So basically, lessons, life lessons or lessons learned from your sporting involvement are actually beneficial to how you execute your professional, responsibilities. Anything to say about passion? Discovering something you're passionate about and actually making sure that you fulfill your passion whilst you don't drop balls on other things.
Yes. So one of my favorite quotes, I always say, if your dreams don't scare you, they are not big enough. And people need to dream. And I always say it's never too late to dream. It is not based on age or on limits. Your dreams can also change, and that's also acceptable. So you must dream. And if they are not big enough, they must scare you, because when they scare you, it means you have big dreams, and never stop dreaming. So that's one of my favorite quotes. Because I also say, when life throws you lemons, you must also make lemonade. I'm a passionate person who's also a very positive person, that you must see good in every situation and never stop learning. I always say I'm a lifetime learner. I'll even say to my interns, guys, we learn from you. You are young, but I always try and listen to their conversations and listen to their wisdom. As young as they are, and we always can never be correct all the time, we must be lifetime learners always.
All right. And so now, Doc, so I've now been looking at how you bring the two together. But let's go back to sport again. Just your best running experience.
My best running, okay.
You mentioned it there on that platform in 2013.
2013, is it my first marathon? I'm sure that's my first marathon.
Cape Town one.
Yes, that was my first, yes. And I was trained by this guy from Cape Town. He said, you can settle, if you want to run comrades, you have to run a marathon. And we trained so much, and I was struggling to find time as a registrar while studying to make time. He would even accompany me and run on afternoons, on weekends, because that's the only time I would have available. So crossing that finish line, I even have a picture with my hands high in the air as I was crossing. For me, that was my best running experience. The second one is obviously 2019 Comrades Marathon as well.
Where you finished with Bob.
Yes.
And your West running experience?
West. For me, the issue with running is getting those blisters and having so much ugly toes, and you're female. You get black toes, eh? And the toenails do come out, people must know. So they will not look cute after Comrades. You'll be limping and you will lose your toenails. But obviously it's temporary. Can I also mention one experience, my best triathlon experience is having earned to be an Ironman as a Black female. I mean, in 2017, I was the only Black female on the field of 2,400.
Then that's the reason why Dr. Tony calls you Iron Lady.
Yes. I mean, I've done half Ironmans, about 10 of them, and I've done 2 full Ironmans. And my problem is there is not many Black people in triathlons, that's one.
Why?
Females are almost non-existent. And we end up knowing each other. I actually know most Black triathlete females in South Africa because we're not many. And we're trying to change that to some extent. Hence, I'm passionate about teaching people to swim so that we can remove those stereotypes that you can learn to swim as a female, you can learn to ride as an adult, you can participate in triathlons. The problem is it requires a skill. If you can't swim, it's hard to do an Ironman. And if you can't cycle, it's hard to do. Plus, you're a female. People tell you, you can't do this, you can't do that, which is also what I went through, being told you can't. And I was just fortunate being surrounded by people who told me I can. And obviously the resilience I'd acquired from running and doing medicine and specializing and crossing that finish line in 2017 was to tell so many Black females, you actually can. It is not impossible.
Yeah, there is a lady who works for Coca-Cola Beverages South Africa, you know, whom I found that she actually does the triathlons as well. And when I said, I know of a doctor who's based in Umtata, who is a, you know, a triathlete. And because there's not many of you guys, she knew exactly who I was talking about. And then when I went into your Facebook page and I showed her that this is the person, and she said, yes, we're one of the very, very few people, but I just have forgotten her name now. But, you know, like you say, there's very, very few Black ladies who participate in triathlon.
Yeah, you end up knowing each other. It's a very small circle, but we want to make the circle bigger, definitely. So I am always supportive of a lady who tells me she wants to do triathlons, will engage, and I'm strict. So people regret, they always say they regret once I tell them, because me, I won't let go. If you tell me you want to do this, I will remind you and I will remind you, and no one will come up with an excuse why they can't. Well, I always say, not in my name.
Yeah. But Doc, you have not answered me. Your worst experience. Okay, let me give you a hint. Alexandria.
Alexandria.
Yes, you got lost.
Oh my gosh, the trail run. Oh my goodness. You know that race? We got lost. I was so scared. St. Jude's. So this was a trail race in Alexandria, just outside of PE. And we thought 39 Ks, we'll finish this in 5 hours. Now, I was not told that trail run doesn't work like that. It's quite extreme. You can't run much. You climb rocks, you descend sand dunes, you trip, you fall. I was a mess at the finish of that run. I actually cut my dreadlocks after that run because I was starting a new chapter. The hair had so much sand on my hair, I could not wash it. I decided to cut it. So for me, that was the worst. But when I got to the finish line, I'd actually won a prize, which is beautiful, despite all that drama and effort that had happened.
And when you got sick at the comrades in 2015?
Yeah, actually, I forgot about that experience. So I always tell people, sometimes you may not finish a race and you need to be okay with it. So 2015, I got sick. I didn't realize I was sick until I was at the 28-kilometer mark. Runners are stubborn people. There were some warning signs the day before, but I did not know because I had very sore muscles. I had myalgia. I was like, maybe we were walking a lot at the expo and at the mall. Following morning, I couldn't eat, couldn't finish the food. I thought maybe it's the race nerves. When we're running within 2 kilometers, I'm feeling hot, I'm sweating. I thought maybe because we're starting in Durban, you justify everything. I only realized at 28K mark that I'm actually sick. I was cramping, I was having diarrhea, I had to visit the loo. It was bad. I was vomiting, I was dizzy, and I had to make a call at 78-kilometer mark to say, it's either this race or your health. And I cried for a good 15 kilometers before stopping. I knew my race was over around 60 Ks because I could see I'm slowing down and I'm dizzy and I'm sick. No cramp medication is helping. But I had to talk to myself, cry a lot, and tell myself it's okay. And then I sat down at 78 and I called my brother, told him I'm quitting, I'm okay, I'm not dead, but I'm gonna wait for the bailer's bus to come fetch me. And I cried for the entire week after that. And I was sick for the whole week even after that. I think I had caught a bug.
Yeah.
Because even the rest of the week I had diarrhea, I was still sick, stomach cramps, and I don't know what it was, but obviously it costed me my race, but I had to move on from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So, Doc, you've done so many things. What's next for you? What's next for you at two levels? What's next for you professionally as a medic who is an academic in a in a medical university? What's next for you sporting wise? What's the next big challenge that you have not been able to to participate in that you think you need to test yourself, Uyo?
Sure. Can I start with sport and finish with the professional one? Yeah, because that's the easiest one for now. So my next challenge, because I've done all these ones, I said maybe, just maybe, I must consider doing a race. There's a race called DC or Double Century. It's in Swellendam. You cycle 202 kilometers, which is a distance I've never done cycling, but it requires you to be a group of 12 people and you must ride together and you must assemble a team. So there's a lot of admin involved. So we said we want to do it this year. So we'll see if we get to do it. The next one I said I want to do maybe is the double Malut cycle tour. Washi, I'm not sure yet. I'm still thinking Washi Mile is a 161 kilometer running race in East London. I am not sure yet if I were to do it. You run for 26 hours.
There is also another
maybe those are in the pipeline.
There's another endurance cycling thing that happens in the Cape. I've just forgotten the name.
Cape Epic. I'm sure you're talking about Cape Epic.
Is that?
Yeah, that's a mountain bike race.
Okay.
So I'm more of a road cyclist. I do some mountain bike races, but I'm not very good and technical in off-road. So that one is a staged multi-day race, but it's mountain biking.
Yeah.
So that's the plan for what, do more international marathons. We'll see which one we choose next and see, then do Portugal. Obviously, I haven't been to. Make sure I do a marathon or an Ironman when I go there. So we'll see how we plan 2021. For now, we're dealing with the pandemic. So everything else has taken a backseat for now.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. In terms of professional one.
Professionally, what's next? I mean, you are a pediatrician. You are in an academic environment. Naturally, you do research and you become a professor and all of those kind of things. Is that stuff that you want to do?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I'm not going that route, the red gown route. And everyone had always thought, including Pepeta, Prof. Pepeta, that I would go and subspecialize and go the red gown route. And I tell them, no, that's not me. I've done pediatrics and I'm okay with that. And because we've had conversations regarding this.
Yeah, no, I don't want to say anything.
It's difficult. Yeah. So at this point in time, 2020 has gotten a lot of changes and destabilized us with all the planning we've been doing, generally work-wise and everything. Yeah. So it has sort of changed my perspective where I need to rethink what I want to do.
Yeah.
So for now, I'm still continuing at Nelson Mandela Academic Hospital. Saving children is always naturally my passion, but I also want to start looking at other things that I might need to do. I always say, hey, people, when they get close to 40, they start with the midlife crisis and they want to explore new things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to see if I need to get into you guys, corporate spaces and other, I don't know, because now the 2020 has been cancelled. I personally don't believe it has been cancelled. It has just allowed us to sit back and slow down generally with everything that we've been.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, Doc. So we are about to wrap up. If a young person who has just started doing medicine comes to you and just wants some wisdom from you, or anybody who's watching here who has a child who's interested in doing medicine, what word of advice do you have? Starting from maybe, let's not even talk university, they are doing grade 10 in high school. Why should they choose medicine?
Okay.
And Mamela,
So I always tell people when they ask me that question that medicine is a very rewarding job because you get to save people's lives. However, it is important that when someone wants to make that decision, because fortunately now with career guidance, you are able to go and watch and see what a doctor does on a day-to-day basis. So I said, if you're in grade 10, visit us for a week or two, get to see what we actually do and see if this resonates with you, and not only visit one department, visit about 3 or 4 departments there, and say you do medicine and you end up not enjoying it. But it is a very rewarding job. When you save people's life, the reward is much more greater. The hours are long. I always tell them. I actually lost weight when I did internship. I was never ready that a doctor works that long. And I only discovered this during internship, that literally the whole night you don't sleep. So people need to be prepared for that, that the hours will be long. You will work Christmas or sometimes New Year. Family holidays are not always going to be over festive season. You're going to be fighting about the roster, who must cover, and that's going to be your life. And you must be okay with it. The purpose is bigger. You are saving people's lives, and that is rewarding enough to sacrifice one Christmas or one New Year every year.
So during this time of COVID, then, what have you learned that kids now need to even know about choosing the profession from a risk point of view?
During COVID, we obviously frontline workers amongst in many other workers, because I always say, I feel like attention is only being given to healthcare workers. There are many frontline workers in South Africa,
Yes.
including correctional services, police, and. So we are also frontline workers, and you have signed an oath. You are expected to serve. You cannot not want to serve during COVID pandemic, and it's gonna affect you. It's gonna affect your family. You're gonna worry a lot. That will I not infect my family? Will I not get infected at work? Those are unfortunately the challenges of a healthcare worker. It's just that COVID has reminded us more than TB and drug-resistant TB and HIV and hepatitis and all the other diseases that you can get infected with. But COVID has also brought us to unite a lot as healthcare workers, because we're all sharing one crisis. It does not choose gender, it does not choose race or socioeconomic status. It affects everyone. So in a way, COVID has made us to sort of unite, because we have the same goal to fight the COVID and to make sure our people come out alive or less harmed, and limit the number of deaths and improve even the quality of care we're giving to the patients who have COVID.
Yeah. So there's people who are saying frontline workers, like especially healthcare workers, they must be compensated more for the risk. What's your view on that? A quick one.
Okay, sure. It's quite tricky, I must say, because there are a lot of frontline workers. That is my problem. It cannot be only healthcare workers. If we want to compensate, there's going to be a lot of people who are compensated regarding that. And the problem in South Africa is that our economy is struggling. I mean, we've just now, and because we've been on lockdown. So the money is going to be a struggle to get. People struggle to get personal protective equipment. I would rather see those, for me, focus the energies on those and make sure those are received by the people rather than the compensation. And because the compensation, you're going to need to define the how. So for me, it needs to be more broad-based and be inclusive of all frontline workers. For instance, I'll make an example. A lady who works at Spa selling us groceries every day since lockdown, she's actually a frontline worker, even though she's in a private company. Police, soldiers, correctional services, all of those people are just as important. It cannot only be us doctors and nurses who feel like we need the compensation. The risk is there even to them. Obviously to us to a higher level because we interact with the patients. But it needs to be more diverse and we need to look at it in that way, balancing the needs of the country and the economy as well.
Lovely, Doc. And so another question, if somebody asked you whether it was a good idea for schools to be opened on the 1st of June or not, being a pediatrician and knowing that the prevalence of COVID-19 amongst the young ones is much smaller, less than 2% of people under 19, and all of that. So if you had to advise Mamu Angie just before the 1st of June, what would we have said? I know we've got a benefit now of hindsight.
Yes, I absolutely love this question because it's been topical. Even the teacher at my daughter's school, she was asking me when I went to collect stuff. The evidence is there that children are not spreaders of the disease. The evidence is there that the children get the disease, but they get it very mildly. The evidence is there that a lot of them actually don't contract the disease, even when people in the household have it. So in terms of opening schools, my opinion, personal opinion is very clear that there needs to balance protecting them from not getting COVID and denying them of school. The need of going back to school outweighs that. And I'm not referring to my daughter who attends a private school who does online learning. I'm talking about my cousin's child who's sitting at Bizana in a village with zero access to online learning. For me, we need to protect the disadvantaged. So for me, I'm clear, the schools have to open. My only problem is the systems to be put in place of how we do that. At the reopening of schools, the children are not the spreaders of the disease and they don't get very sick from it. And my problem is when I run, I see children playing. There were 30 children playing at police camp. They're not going to school, but there are 30 of them playing in that yard. No social distancing, no mask, whatever. So, and we need to balance the fact that parents are working. I'm a working mom. If my child is not going to school for 6 months, I need someone to take care of that child, and not everyone has access to a helper. So we need to balance the needs of the economy and working parents with then the rest of the pandemic. But obviously for me, kids are not spreaders of the disease, so the schools can reopen, but obviously look into detail of the systems, put them in place for social distancing, the sanitizers, and make sure all of those needs are met. That's where we need to put the energy on.
All right. And the last one, Doc, please switch on your camera, Manje, because people must still see you. You know, you did your hair nicely and that.
For a whole 90 minutes. I even combed my hair today.
Yes, no, please, people must see you. They must see you, Doc. Please switch on that camera.
Oh, let me switch it on. So at least I made sure my hair is combed up and I at least look presentable.
You do. There's even earrings. Wow, I'm surprised.
Even earrings. I'm trying.
No, lovely, Doc. Lovely. One question though. Most professions or careers, they tend to be male dominated. What has been your experience as a woman entering the medical field, advancing in the medical field? You know, the issues of patriarchy, misogyny, and all of that, you know, ceiling for females. I can see that you are a serial ceiling breaker, but just what has been your experience about challenges facing women in the medical or the health field broadly?
So I must say, women definitely face challenges. However, somehow in the medical space, it is not as much as in the corporate space. That's what I've picked up over the years, that with medicine, we've got a natural system of progression. There's OSD, which is occupation-specific dispensation. If you meet all those, you naturally progress to the next one. And also because we're a scarce skill, it is natural that you will most likely get the post because there are limited people for that post anyway. Obviously, in bigger cities, your Cape Town and Johannesburg, Pretoria, Durban, the dynamics might be slightly different versus in a smaller hospital. They'll be excited to have you anyway because they have no one. So in the medical field, naturally, we are few, and therefore you are most likely to get the post because they need someone and there was no one.
Yeah.
However, I know I have friends in the corporate spaces who go through all of those. I personally have not had that experience in all the areas I've worked in. I've worked in Queenstown, Port Elizabeth, Mthatha, Cape Town. I haven't experienced all of those, the male dominant. Yeah, in Maritzburg. Obviously, pediatricians, most of them are female as well. We've got a few guys, but it's quite female dominated as well.
Oh, okay. So you guys, you are occupying that space. Eh? You are occupying
yes,
that
but obviously, even before I became a pediatrician, it wasn't like that. You know, you're gonna do internship. After internship, you're gonna do community service. It's a post that comes naturally. You don't even need to apply for it. You just get to choose where you want to work.
Being a pediatrician.
So the dynamics are completely different when you're a doctor.
All right. So being a pediatrician, does it give you any advantage in terms of parenting? Doc? Dr. Nandy?
Your training, even before to breastfeed, long before I had my own daughter. And I don't take it to a doctor because I just examine and I just do the stuff. So it does give a lot of advantage because you learn a lot of things before you become a mom, and you become also a confident mom because you know you can assess. Obviously, when a child has been fortunate, she really hasn't been that sick except once. I had to call Prof. Pepeta. It's like, Prof. Pepeta, tell me my child does not have Kawasaki. And she had Kawasaki. And I admitted the first phase because I'm a mom, not a pediatrician to her. So those things happen, and we realized she had Kawasaki, and she was treated, and she's been fine since then.
Yeah. Okay. The last one, and please, you can decide whether to answer it or not. It's a silly question, but there's a thought or there's a belief that people like you who exercise a lot, get those happy hormones and all of that, it also has got a benefit in terms of issues of sexual desire. Would you agree or disagree with that hypothesis?
I choose to answer that question because I need to send a very important message for health purposes.
Yes.
And I think I always
camera,
okay, let me stop. Okay, do I sound better now?
Sound better now.
Okay. So I said, I want to answer that question because we need to send a very important message that exercising improves your sexual drive. It's there, it's sexually proven, it's scientifically proven. And also I can testify as well. Trust me, those endorphins or the runner's high, they contribute to the sexual desire and sexual drive as well. And remember, the exercising assists you to maintain it, or at least keep it up there for as long as possible. For people listening, I am a living testimony of that.
So, Doc, so uthi appetite iyenyuka and so nje awunangqaki.
Yeah, no, even if you're tired, your muscles can be tired from the exercise, but the desire and the drive doesn't go away.
Okay, all right. Okay, Doc. No, I just thought let me throw in that question was it's a question I've always asked. And my friends Abo Pufungana and Abo Pilisa Mnandi, they don't
Yes,
always give me clear answers
a straight
about
answer.
yeah, a straight answer. So you have given me a straight answer. So for those guys whose desire is starting to wane, maybe considering regular exercise may actually be the solution rather than running and to get the blue pill if you are a male, or even the pink pill if you are a female. Doc, thank you very much for your time. I know I've taken a little bit more than the time I had asked you to avail yourself, but I've enjoyed this interview. And camera bakhona gqirha.
Okay, no, thank you very much, Dr. Nyati, for the opportunity as well. And I told you, time flies. We've just been talking and even went over the time.
Yes, but thank you very much, Mantok. I really thank you. And also all the guys that are running with you, who are encouraging you, protecting you. We live in a dangerous country. So I'm really saying your success is also a product of what they have done, to support you. So, but at the end of the day, your mind, your resilience is what has made you to achieve so much. And may you continue to achieve all your dreams, both from a sporting side of things and also from your professional point of view. Make sure that, they say you only live once. So whatever desires you have in terms of what you need to get involved in, don't be limited by what you studied at university. There's always so many things that one can study and actually, broaden themselves. And so all the best with any decision that you are going to take in the near future about, getting new challenges professionally, but also, like I said, in the sporting way. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much, Dr. Nyati. And I fully agree with you. The sky is the limit.
Yes, exactly, Doc. And I also want to thank all the listeners. I hope some of your friends, you gave them the links so that they can actually listen to this conversation. So thank you to all of them who followed you, but also all my viewers who joined us via the various social media platforms. Thank you. I will continue to find people who have got unique stories that are inspirational in nature for the whole month of August. On Saturday, I'll have a business leader, a CEO of Prasa, who will come and share her experience as a wife, as a business leader. The ups and downs of working in a male-dominated society. That will be on the 8th. On the 9th, which is the Women's Day, I'll have Prof. Noza Dlova, who will also share with us, trials and tribulations, successes, in her rise to becoming the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine at the UKZN. And then the following day, on the 10th, I'll have a lady, Tumi Dlamini, who actually works, I think, is in the presidency with the African Peer Review Mechanism. So I've got a lot of, people beyond medical people, and I'm still looking for more people that I can showcase. Was this is really a month where we need to lift up those Mbogodos that are making a difference out there, whose stories will surely inspire others. So you, the second of my guests, and I'm sure your story will inspire many people who didn't know how to swim, many people who didn't know how to cycle, many people who didn't know how to juggle sports and a demanding career, like medicine. So thank you very much, Doc.
Thank you. Thank you for having me as well.
All right, thanks, man. Sure.
All right. Bye.